High above the eastern Mediterranean and the skies surrounding Israel, military aircraft move at breathtaking speeds. Fighter jets slice through the air at hundreds of kilometers per hour. Attack helicopters patrol at lower altitudes, scanning the ground below. Pilots train constantly for the dangers of combat missiles, radar systems, enemy aircraft. But there is another threat in the sky, a threat that does not appear on radar screens as an enemy target. A threat that cannot be intercepted by missiles. A threat that cannot be shot down, and yet it has the power to destroy a fighter jet in seconds. According to aviation safety experts and Israeli defense sources, one of the most serious hazards faced by Israeli pilots is not enemy fire, but high-speed collisions with large migrating birds, especially cranes and pelicans. Every year, massive flocks of these birds migrate across the skies of the Middle East, and directly beneath one of the largest migration routes in the world sits Israel, a narrow corridor connecting Africa, Europe, and Asia. This means that every migration season, the skies above the country become crowded with millions of birds traveling in enormous formations. And sometimes those formations intersect with military flight paths. Before we dive deeper into this unusual but very real mid-air crisis and why Israeli pilots consider bird collisions one of the most dangerous threats they face during training missions, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest insights into aviation, global security, and the surprising risks hidden in modern military operations. According to aviation safety data and environmental monitoring groups, Israel lies directly along one of the planet's most important migratory flyways. Every year during spring and autumn migration seasons, birds traveling between Europe, Asia, and Africa pass through this corridor. The numbers are staggering. Experts estimate that more than 500 million birds cross this region annually. Among them are large species such as cranes and pelicans, birds that can weigh several kilograms and travel in massive formations stretching for kilometers across the sky. To a commercial passenger aircraft flying at high altitude, such flocks can sometimes be avoided. But military aircraft often operate in very different conditions. Israeli fighter jets frequently fly at low or medium altitudes during training missions. Attack helicopters patrol even closer to the ground. These flight profiles place military aircraft directly into the same airspace used by migrating birds. And when a fighter jet moving at hundreds of kilometers per hour collides with a bird weighing several kilograms, the results can be catastrophic. A bird strike at those speeds can shatter cockpit canopies, destroy engines, or damage critical control systems. In the worst cases, such collisions can cause aircraft to crash. According to Israeli aviation safety records, bird strikes have historically caused significant damage to military equipment and have even led to pilot fatalities. For pilots flying fast-moving aircraft, the danger often appears without warning. Birds do not follow air traffic instructions. They do not carry transponders, and they cannot quickly change direction when a jet suddenly appears at high speed. This creates a dangerous situation where both the aircraft and the flock are moving rapidly through the same airspace. In recent years, Israeli pilots have reported numerous close encounters with large migrating birds during routine training missions. Some of these encounters occurred when fighter jets suddenly found themselves flying directly alongside enormous flocks moving across the sky. From the cockpit, the scene can be startling. Instead of open air ahead, the pilot suddenly sees hundreds or even thousands of large birds filling the sky. At that moment, the pilot must react instantly. Turning sharply at high speed can put enormous stress on the aircraft. But continuing forward risks colliding with birds that may weigh as much as several kilograms each. Even a single bird can be dangerous. But when aircraft encounter entire flocks, the risk multiplies dramatically. According to environmental monitoring groups, some crane formations migrating through the region can include thousands of birds flying together. Pelicans with their large wingspans and heavy bodies present another serious hazard. When these birds fly in large groups, they occupy wide sections of airspace that can extend across several kilometers. For military pilots flying at high speed, encountering such formations becomes a critical safety challenge. Helicopter crews face similar risks. Attack helicopters often operate at low altitude, sometimes flying through valleys or across open terrain during patrol missions. These routes frequently overlap with the paths taken by migrating birds. Unlike jets, helicopters move more slowly, but their exposed rotor blades make them vulnerable to impacts. A collision between a bird and a helicopter rotor can cause severe mechanical damage. Even smaller birds can cause problems for helicopters. But large birds, like cranes or pelicans, pose a particularly serious threat. The Israeli military has long recognized the danger posed by bird strikes. Over the years, it has developed extensive monitoring programs designed to track bird migration patterns. Special radar systems and environmental monitoring teams observe bird movements across the region. Their goal is to provide pilots with warnings when large flocks are approaching military flight zones. These systems allow flight planners to adjust training schedules or reroute aircraft when major migrations are detected. But even with these precautions, unexpected encounters still occur. Bird flocks can change direction quickly. Weather conditions can shift migration routes. And pilots sometimes encounter birds outside predicted patterns. When that happens, the situation can turn into a split-second crisis. A fighter jet traveling at high speed covers enormous distances in very little time. At those speeds, pilots may have only seconds to react when birds suddenly appear ahead. Avoiding a collision requires skill, experience, and quick decision-making. Some pilots describe the experience as one of the most unpredictable hazards in aviation. Missiles and radar systems can be tracked. Enemy aircraft follow identifiable flight patterns. But migrating birds move according to natural instincts and environmental conditions. Their behavior can be impossible to predict. In one scenario described by aviation analysts, a fighter jet conducting a routine patrol suddenly encountered a massive flock of cranes moving across its flight path. From the cockpit, the sky appeared filled with moving shapes. The pilot had to maneuver rapidly to avoid flying directly into the formation. Even small adjustments in direction at high speed can create dramatic changes in flight trajectory. At that moment, every second matters. A delay of just a fraction of a second can mean the difference between safely passing a flock and colliding with it. And when collisions do occur, the consequences can be severe. Bird strikes can shatter windshields, damage radar equipment, or cause engines to fail. For high-performance fighter jets, engine damage can quickly escalate into a life-threatening emergency. Jet engines operate by pulling large volumes of air into the turbine. If a bird is ingested into the engine intake, the impact can damage internal blades and disrupt airflow. This can cause sudden engine failure. For pilots flying at high speeds and low altitude, engine failure leaves little time to recover. The aircraft may lose power rapidly. Pilots must immediately attempt emergency procedures to stabilize the plane or prepare for ejection. These moments represent some of the most dangerous situations a pilot can face. Despite these risks, Israeli pilots continue to operate in this complex airspace every day. Training missions are essential for maintaining readiness. Helicopters patrol borders and coastlines. Jets conduct exercises designed to prepare for potential military threats. But above them, millions of migrating birds continue their ancient journey across the region. The intersection of these two worlds, modern military aviation and natural migration routes, creates a unique challenge. It is a reminder that even the most advanced technology can still be vulnerable to forces of nature. To reduce the risk, Israeli authorities coordinate closely with environmental scientists and wildlife experts. Bird migration is monitored using radar systems capable of detecting large flocks moving across the sky. This information is shared with Air Force units responsible for planning flight operations. During peak migration periods, certain training exercises may be temporarily adjusted. Pilots receive updates about expected bird movements before taking off. Some bases even maintain wildlife monitoring teams that track bird activity around nearby airspace. The goal is simple: keep pilots informed so they can avoid dangerous encounters whenever possible. But even with sophisticated monitoring systems, complete avoidance is impossible. Migration routes shift each year. Weather conditions influence bird behavior. And large flocks can appear suddenly in unexpected locations. This means that every flight carries a degree of uncertainty. Pilots must remain constantly alert. They must scan the skies not only for other aircraft, but also for natural hazards that can appear without warning. It is a unique aspect of aviation safety rarely considered by the public. When people imagine threats faced by fighter pilots, they often think of combat scenarios, missiles, dogfights, radar locks. But sometimes the most dangerous threat is simply a flock of birds crossing the sky at the wrong moment. The story unfolding above Israel's skies highlights an unusual but very real challenge in modern aviation. High-speed military aircraft share the airspace with one of the largest natural migrations on Earth. When these two worlds intersect, even the most advanced machines can find themselves facing a threat that cannot be detected by radar systems designed for combat. A threat that cannot be intercepted by missiles? A threat that cannot be shot down, only avoided. And for the pilots flying through those skies, the difference between a routine mission and a mid-air crisis can sometimes come down to a single moment, the instant, when a flock of birds suddenly fills the horizon ahead.